Ever get that feeling like there's this weight you're carrying around? Not something physical, but it kind of drags you down at work and your relationships, just everywhere, really.
Oh, yeah. It's exactly what Sherianna Boyle calls emotional clutter in her book, Emotional Detox. It's something so many of us deal with every day without even realizing it.
And in this deep dive, we are going to unpack some of those ideas from emotional detox. And one of the things that Boyle says right at the start is that it's not our emotions themselves that are the problem, but our reactions to them. Like, it's not feeling frustrated that's the issue. It's what we do with that frustration that really messes things up.
Right. It's like when we try to bottle it up or we let it explode all over the place or we get stuck in it. And that's where Boyle introduces her CLEANTSE method. It's designed to help us shift from just reacting to our emotions to actually processing them in a healthy way.
Okay, so emotional clutter. I think we can all relate to that a bit, right? I mean, think about it. It could be the leftover hurt from a bad breakup, the stress that just never seems to leave after a crazy day at work, or even just all those tiny little annoyances that we encounter every single day. It all adds up, right?
It really does, and it's fascinating how we try to deal with it all. We might bury ourselves in work or spend hours scrolling through social media or just kind of zone out in front of the TV. Anything to avoid actually feeling those uncomfortable emotions.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. But as Boyle points out, those avoidance tactics only work for so long. They might give us a little temporary relief, but they don't actually address the underlying issue and those emotions. They don't just magically disappear. In fact, they often go even deeper and start to affect us in ways we might not even realize, like messing with our sleep or even our immune system, not to mention our mood. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can push it down for a while, but eventually it's going to pop back up.
Absolutely. And that's where Boyle offers a really interesting perspective. She talks about emotions as energy in motion and how they're actually meant to flow through us. And as they move, they bring valuable information and insights if we're open to listening.
I love that energy in motion. So when we try to suppress that anger or ignore that sadness, we're essentially blocking that natural flow of energy. And that blockage, that resistance, is what creates the emotional clutter, right?
Exactly. It's not the feeling itself, but the way we try to hold on to it or push it away. And this emotional clutter can show up in some unexpected ways. Have you ever noticed that you're constantly tired, even when you're getting enough sleep? Or maybe you find yourself getting irritated really easily over small things? Or that underlying anxiety that just won't go away? Those could all be signs of emotional clutter building up.
It's not always these big dramatic emotional outbursts other, is it? It's often those smaller, almost insignificant moments that build up over time. Like a coworker makes a snide remark, you get stuck in traffic on your way home, an old memory pops up out of nowhere. Each one of those adds a little bit more to the emotional load we're carrying.
It's like layers. Each unprocessed experience adds another layer on top of the last one. And often we don't even realize it's happening, but the weight of all those layers really starts to add up over time.
It's kind of like physical clutter in our homes. One little thing here, another little thing there. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but when you multiply that by 100 or 1,000, suddenly you feel overwhelmed just looking at it all. Emotional clutter creates that same sense of being overwhelmed, of not being able to move freely.
That's a great analogy. And just like there's often this pressure to keep our homes tidy and organized, there's also this pressure to keep our emotions in check, to always appear strong and in control.
Oh, yeah. We're constantly being told to keep it together, to be strong, and to not show too much vulnerability.
Right. So we learn to put on a brave face, to push those feelings down, and to find ways to distract ourselves from them. And that's where all those coping mechanisms come in, the mindless scrolling, the comfort eating, anything to avoid facing those uncomfortable emotions.
But the problem is, as Boyle highlights, those coping mechanisms don't actually solve anything. They just keep us stuck in a cycle of avoidance. The real problem isn't the emotions themselves, but the way we react to them by suppressing them, avoiding them, or getting defensive.
Because those reactions prevent us from actually processing those emotions and letting them go.
Exactly. It's like we're trapping those emotions inside and they just keep swirling around, creating more and more clutter. And that's why some people can feel stuck with years of sadness, anger, or fear that they've never truly dealt with. And this is where Boyle's CLEANSE method comes in. It's not about trying to get rid of our emotions altogether. It's about learning to relate to them in a healthier way so that we can process them and let them go.
And it's not just a quick fix or a one-time thing. Boyle presents it as a way of life, a way of continuously processing and releasing those emotions so that they don't have the chance to build up and overwhelm us.
So it's a shift in perspective, right? Instead of seeing our emotions as the enemy, we start to see them as allies.
Exactly. They become messengers, guiding us, teaching us, helping us to understand ourselves better.
So we've talked about emotional clutter and how our reactions often make things worse, and we've touched on Boyle's idea that emotions are actually trying to help us. As we wrap up this deep dive, let's distill some of the key takeaways. What are some things our listeners can really take with them and apply to their lives?
I think the most important thing Boyle emphasizes is that we need to stop viewing our emotions as problems that need to be fixed. Instead, we need to start seeing them as valuable sources of information. Imagine your emotions as an internal guidance system, like a GPS for your soul. It's always on, always working, giving you real-time feedback about what's going on inside and outside of you.
Okay, I like that analogy. So how do we start to see our emotions as a guidance system?
Well, let's take anger as an example. Instead of immediately labeling it as bad, ask yourself, what is this anger trying to tell me? Is it signaling that someone has crossed a boundary or that a need isn't being met?
What about sadness? What kind of messages might that be sending?
Sadness might be telling you to slow down, to take care of yourself, or to reach out for connection and support. It's not a sign of weakness, but a natural response to loss, disappointment, or change.
And what about fear? I think a lot of us try to avoid that feeling at all costs.
Fear can be a powerful teacher. It often highlights areas where we're being challenged to grow or where we need to pay attention to our safety and well-being. Sometimes it's a signal to proceed with caution, while other times it's an invitation to step outside our comfort zone and expand our horizons.
So each emotion has a purpose, and each one carries a message. And the key is to allow ourselves to feel those emotions without judgment, without immediately trying to push them away or fix them.
Exactly. When we do that, we can start to understand the information they're giving us. And that understanding can lead to greater self-awareness and inner peace.
But it's not about wallowing in those emotions, right? We don't want to get stuck in them.
No, it's about actively engaging with them, leaning into the discomfort rather than running away from it. By doing that, we create space to process those emotions, to understand where they're coming from, and to ultimately grow from the experience.
And Boyle talks about this beautiful outcome of this process, right? She says that when we allow ourselves to process our emotions in this way, we often experience a sense of lightness, like we finally put down a heavy burden that we've been carrying for far too long.
Exactly. And that lightness can lead to a greater sense of freedom, presence, and groundedness. We're no longer constantly expending energy trying to suppress or avoid those inner experiences.
And when we're not weighed down by all that emotional baggage, we can start to make clearer, more conscious decisions, right?
Absolutely. We're not reacting from those old wounds or ingrained patterns anymore. Instead, we're making choices from a place of wisdom and self-awareness. And that's where real change can happen.
So Boyle's CLEANTSE method is essentially about transforming our relationship with our emotions.
It's about learning to be with them, to allow them to come and go without judgment or attachment, and to ultimately use them as a guide for healing and growth.
And it's not about trying to become some kind of emotionless robot or striving for constant happiness. It's about clearing out the emotional clutter that's blocking us from being our true selves.
It's about being able to navigate those tough situations with a sense of calmness and clarity, to have those difficult conversations without getting swept away by our emotions.
So the ultimate goal of emotional detox is to live a richer, more fulfilling life, right? To wake up each day with a sense of love, lightness, and clarity, free from the weight of all those unresolved emotions, and to be fully present in each moment.
Exactly. It's about creating space for more joy, deeper connections, and continuous growth, simply by letting go of what's been holding us back.
And Boyle's work provides a framework and a supportive perspective for this journey. It reminds us that our emotions are a natural and essential part of being human, and that embracing them can lead to greater peace and freedom.
The first step is simply to acknowledge that your emotions are not the enemy. They are messengers trying to help you. They are part of you, and they have something valuable to say.
So it starts with a willingness to listen, to lean in, and to allow those emotions to flow through you without resistance.
It's a journey, and it might not always be easy, but the rewards are so worth it.
Emotional detox is about transforming your relationship with yourself and your inner world. It's about building trust in your own capacity to navigate your emotions and creating space for the person you were always meant to be to emerge.
And it may be challenging at times, but ultimately, it can lead to a lighter, freer, and more fully engaged experience of life.
So if you're feeling weighed down by emotional clutter, know that you're not alone. And know that there is a path to freedom and joy. It starts with the willingness to let go of the baggage you've been carrying and to embrace the wisdom of your emotions.
And remember, you don't have to do it all at once. It's a journey. And every step you take towards greater emotional freedom is a victory worth celebrating.
And that's it for our deep dive into Sherianna Boyle's emotional detox. We hope this has given you some insights and tools to start clearing out your own emotional clutter and creating a more vibrant and fulfilling life. What do you think? Is there one idea from Emotional Detox that really resonated with you? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share your biggest takeaway. And until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep letting go of what no longer serves you.
And remember, your emotions are not the enemy. They are your allies, your guides, and your teachers. Listen to them, learn from them, and let them lead you to a life of greater freedom, joy, and peace.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.